right. Welcome back, everyone. So today we're going to go over a little bit more Terraform, but we're going to be covering Terraform configurations, and just some basic Terraform commands. Terraform configure syntax is the foundation of writing infrastructure as code. It helps HashiCorp Configuration Language, or HCL, to define resources, variables, providers, and modules. Terraform commands are essential for managing your infrastructure lifestyle. Key commands include init for initializing configurations, plan for previous changes, apply for executing changes, and destroy for tearing down infrastructure. So as you guys learned last time, there's a vast amount of different providers for Terraform, but it's pretty much for spinning up cloud infrastructure. There's a lot of other stuff you can do with it, but that is the main purpose of Terraform is pretty much like provisioning and managing cloud infrastructure. So what are we trying to accomplish? Does someone want to read this section?
I can do it. Let's see. Understanding Terraform syntax is crucial for creating clear, efficient, and maintainable infrastructure config. But understanding the syntax alone is not enough. Familiarity with the Terraform CLI command ensures you can effectively deploy, update, and manage infrastructure leveraging Terraform's full capabilities. Yesterday, we looked at running some simple Terraform commands and config. Today, we're going to learn about them in more detail. By learning both configurations and syntax of the CLI command to run them, we are setting you up to become comfortable thinking through how to organize your configuration as we add complexity to use your case.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. So as I said in prior lessons, Terraform and like Kubernetes and just learning AWS Cloud is probably some of the most important stuff that we teach in the cohort. So if you guys do have any questions or want me to slow down or anything, please let me know. I do like using Terraform quite a bit, and there's a lot you can do with it. And it's pretty fun. It's really not its own. It's really not a programming language, but it's pretty close that you can almost consider it. Anyways, let's dive into the lesson. So yesterday you ran into some basic Terraform commands configurations. Today we're going to be learning about Terraform configurations and commands in more detail. Key objectives: set configurations can be run together by sharing a root directory. So let me actually split screen this. And let me just pull up a terminal real quick. Oops, here we go. And go to there. Cool. So all this command does right here is just creating the Terraform-AWS directory. It is changing directories into it, and then it is creating a main.tf file. So as you can see, I've kind of already done that here. So that's pretty straightforward. Everyone should be familiar with that. So within this main TF, we're gonna, create the provider and the Terraform block that you guys discussed that yesterday, right? You should have. Something that I noticed, I just made a change right before class was if you guys don't have the access key and the secret key, this is the part that links up to your actual AWS account. You can either add it here in the provider AWS block, or you can just export it as like a global variable. And so you just did like the export C or access key. Usually that would be like in all caps, and then like your access key, and then your secret key as well. I believe we went over last class that I taught how to get those. But if you do need help getting those or knowing what they are more in detail, then I would be happy to have a sidebar, or I don't know, you just raise your hand or just ask if you want. Anyways, so we're just providing or we're defining the provider block and the Terraform block, which has the AWS provider as well as its version in here. And today we are going to be creating an AWS instance. And so within the resource block, so each one of these is called like a block in Terraform. And so you name it, there's like different types. So here's like a resource. block, which is just like any AWS resource in this instance, since we're using the AWS provider that is available to us through the Terraform website. Anyways, and so we're just defining some attributes. We're defining its image, which I'm not exactly sure which image this is off the top of my head, but it's a valid AWS image, as well as the instance type of T2 micro. And we're just providing a tag with the name of Terraform EC2. You can change this to whatever. If you guys are trying to follow along or whatever, then feel free to change it to, I don't know, maybe your name and then I don't know, Terraform, or you could probably just put it as like your name and then instance or whatever, but that's what'll show up in the AWS console itself. Um, yeah, so let's move on. I've already put that in my main right here. We could actually do a cat on that to show you. Cat, main TF. And as you can see, here's
I
your,
have a question.
yes.
Uh, that Terraform AWS instance block that you're showing us, what determines what information you put in there? I see you have the AMI and the instance type and the tags. Could you add more stuff or could you add less stuff? Like, how do we determine what
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
necessary for a block?
Yeah, good question. So the biggest resource that you can see to go look up that kind of stuff is literally just go to google.com or I don't know, whatever else, and just type in that, whatever resource you're looking for, and just look up the documentation for it because there's a bunch of stuff. But you just have to go to the registry itself and look at all the attributes. Um, yeah, and you can see
Okay.
AMI. It'll say like what's required and what's optional. So
Oh,
you can do
okay.
like the availability zones and the tenancy. I don't know, like all this other good stuff. And there's it'll describe all the what it is and all that stuff.
Okay.
But for now, we're just doing the required stuff of like the name, the instance type, and the image itself.
Okay.
But yeah, a good thing to note is always go to the Terraform registry. These are going to be different based on um, the actual provider that you use. Like obviously, like AWS is going to have different resources and different um, attributes than I don't know another cloud provider. Let's say Microsoft Azure or Google's cloud or Oracle's cloud or whoever else. So they're all going to be slightly different. So the best reference will always be the Terraform registry documentation. And usually it's pretty good documentation. I've never had any issues looking up any of it, so it's pretty helpful. There is a Terraform VS Code plugin that you guys can play around with. I typically don't do it since I mostly prefer to work in a terminal. However, if you do like VS Code, then feel free to install the extension. And then there's a link for it too. But you could also just click on extensions in your VS Code and just search Terraform, and I'm sure there's plenty that you can read through. Anyways, so the first command that we're going to go over is Terraform init. Does someone want to read that first bullet point while I take a sip of water, please?
Yeah, the Terraform init is a command that initializes a working directory containing Terraform configuration files.
Thank you. So this is the first command that we run after writing a new Terraform configuration or cloning an existing one from its version control. It is safe to run this command multiple times. However, it is safe to run it multiple times. You do not have to. It's pretty much a one and done kind of thing, right? So if you have like one directory, then like one program that holds all your Terraform files and code in it, then you only have to run it once. Just figure it once and done. So this command performs several different initialization steps in order to prepare the current working directory for use with Terraform, like downloading the modules, plugins, setups, background, and storing state of a mechanism by Terraform tracks resources. Yeah, so there's kind of a thing to know with Terraform is that it tracks its own state. So it's able to see what's deployed, what hasn't been deployed, what's changed, what hasn't changed, and everything above. And so that's kind of that's what's called state. And Terraform does a decent job of tracking the state of its resources, which we'll kind of get into. But to run the Terraform init command, pretty self-explanatory and easy. You just run Terraform init. and it only takes, I don't know, maybe like 5 seconds or so. I've already initialized it, but it is safe to run it multiple times in case you forget. And if everything is fine, which you typically won't have an issue unless you installed, I don't know, like a buggy version of it, Terraform or something. But yep, this is the screen that you'll get after successfully initializing it. Terraform plan, this is a big one. Well, I guess all these commands are pretty are pretty like the main commands that you'll have to remember in Terraform. Um, I mean, I guess you don't have to remember it. You could always do like a Terraform help in like the terminal under the command line, and I'll give you like all the commands to help you remember any of them. But anyways, and that's a big one. You only have to do it. It's like a one and done. Just sets everything up in the background. The plan is really helpful. So let's read into it and get into it. Terraform plan command creates an executive plan by default. Creating a plan consists of reading the current state, right? We just talked about that state, pretty much how everything looks already, and how everything is configured. If any already existing remote objects to make sure that the Terraform state is up to date, comparing the current configuration to the prior state, noting any differences. So that's a big part right there, noting any differences, right? Because let's say you're making some changes in the Terraform code. And let's say you want to add another instance, right? So locally you have another instance, but if you haven't deployed it, it's going to show that you need to like +1 create provision a resource, create that other instance. And so there's two different states going on. Well, right, there's your state, your local state, and then there's like your actual deployed state in the AWS console itself. So that's a good thing to know. So proposing a set of change actions that should, if applied, make the remote objects configuration. So the plan alone will not actually carry out the proposed changes. So you could actually use this command, check whether proposed changes match what you expected before the applied changes, or share the changes to your team for a broader review. This happens, I will guarantee, all the time. So anytime you go making the deployment, if it involves, Terraform or provisioning cloud resources, you'll always be checking your Terraform state via like a Terraform plan, to make sure what you're actually deploying is what you want. So a way that we can do that is just run Terraform plan. Simple as that. This does take a little bit longer. Obviously, if you have like, I don't know, like 100 or 1,000 resources, it can take super long. But this is pretty much the gist of it. So let's go over this real quick. So at the bottom, if your plan is successful, like let's say if you have like an error in your Terraform code, it will show that you have some error, and hopefully it will point to it. Sometimes it won't, it'll just throw an error. But in this case, it is successful, and it says plan 2 to add, 0 to change, and 0 to destroy. Okay, so there's 2 resources to be created, and let's go scroll up a little bit. And so there's 3 different markers. Like the plus is to that it's creating. I believe a minus is for deleting. Actually, minus might be, yeah, a minus is for to destroy. And then there's another one for change, but I forgot what that was. But I think there's 3 different colors though that should show up in the terminal, which would be the green for create, the yellow for change, and the red to destroy or remove. So anyways, it'll show us all our details about our AWS instance that we're creating, app server, and give you all this other stuff. Pretty much all the details about it. These are a lot, like all defaults. Most of these are probably going to be null since we're not actually configuring any of them. And then there's also like an AWS, or I'm sorry, an S3 bucket, that I'll go over here shortly of what that resource block looks like. Actually, I could just do it right now. But anyway, so big thing to note is that you're able to check all your resources, and check the state, see if you're, what you want to happen is actually happening, and it's comparing it versus like the live, like what's live in the AWS account itself. But yeah, if we just want to do the cat of the main, I can show you the S3 resource right here. Pretty easy. There is a lot more attributes, but this is just like the bare bones minimum of these resource blocks, right? If you want to add stuff and go to like the registry, you can find, everything else if you want to, I don't know, get password data or put your key name in there. Yeah, like if you want it for your AWS instance, if you want to add your key pair to be able to like SSH into it, then you'll have to add that into it. But for this, we're not. We're just showing basic Terraform provisionment and the the simple Terraform commands. All right, so that's Terraform plan. So how do we deploy these resources, right? We have the code. And the Terraform plan all looks hunky-dory. It all looks good. So how do we deploy this into the cloud? So that is what Terraform apply does. So Terraform apply command executes the actions proposed in a Terraform plan. So it also updates the deployment state to the state file saved in Terraform TF state. So we can actually see that in ls. If we do like an ls-a, you can see a Terraform state file right here. That's where all the Terraform state lives. It keeps like a running log of everything that you've done. So that's super handy. If you ever run into like any kind of issues or need to backtrack or whatever, you can just open up this file and see what the state currently looks like. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. The most straightforward way for Terraform apply is to run it without any arguments at all, which case it will automatically create a new execution plan as if you've had a Terraform plan, and then prompt you to approve the plan before taking any indicated actions. So you could just run a Terraform apply. That is perfectly acceptable. And let's just go ahead and do that. Just like init, just like plan, and just like apply, it will run the plan. So what it does in the background is Terraform, when you run Terraform apply, it'll first run a Terraform plan, and then it'll ask you, hey, does this look good? Right here. Do you want to perform these actions? And we'll hit yes. And then that'll take a minute. I don't know, maybe like 10 seconds or so. And it'll actually deploy into the AWS console. So let's go ahead and just open up AWS. Oops. Let's go to EC2. And cool. So apply complete to resources added. So that's our EC2 instance and our S3 bucket. So if we go to our instances, and I believe I deployed these in US East 1 or North Virginia region. And so as you can see, you have Terraform EC2 right here. And then we could also check the S3 bucket if we want to just verify that our bucket is up and going. I forgot what I called it. Let's see. Should be in the tags. Did I call it just App Media Store? Let's check. Oh my gosh, there's lots of buckets here. We'll have to go in here and clean this up. But anyways, our bucket's somewhere in there. I know it is. I just don't feel like searching through it. But anyways, as you can see, the apply was successful. So, does anyone have any questions on the init, the plan, or the apply? Great, cool. Let's see, this is Terraform plan. Kind of went through this, the apply. Yeah, this is just showing you the output and inspect the state. Oh, yeah. So if you don't want to hit that yes, you could also just do a dash auto dash approve, and then that way you don't have to type in the yes. It'll just automatically send it off, say yes, it's good, go deploy it, and provision those resources. If I run it again, it'll do exactly the same thing, except we won't actually have any resources provisioned. So it should say probably like 000. And as expected, we see 000 because the resources are already provisioned. So we can check that again with running another Terraform plan, and it'll show that nothing's changed. So we're up to date with the state, like our code looks like the current active state in the cloud. So no changes. Your infrastructure matches the configuration. So perfect. And that's exactly what we wanted to see. There's a couple other commands. There's Terraform let me just clear this out, make it a little easier for you guys to read. There's also Terraform state list. And what this will do is just show you all of the resources that are currently being monitored in your state. So we can see an AWS instance and an S3 bucket. So that's pretty cool. Terraform has a command called Terraform state for advanced state management. For example, if you have a long state file detailed, you just want to see the name of your resources, you can do list subcommand. Yep. I believe you could also put if you just wanted to find AWS instances in the state list, you could just add AWS instance at the end of this and it'll show you all your instances. So whatever resource you want, you could just put it at the end and it'll just get you all those, kind of like a little filter. So we've already done the S3 bucket. Plan and apply, done that. Cool. So I think that's actually, here's another thing that's pretty cool. So say you have like all your Terraform state and you only want to do like a portion of the state. So the way you can do that is you can create a Terraform plan and then you output it. You just do this dash out and then you can call it, this would just be the name of the file or whatever. So I've already added the S3 bucket, so I really don't have any Terraform plan that'll show up. But if you just added a resource and do it, and then, I don't know, go ahead and do a bunch of other stuff, but you only want to deploy the S3 bucket, then you just do this Terraform plan. And what it does is it outputs the plan into a file and it'll just download it locally. We could actually do it and I can just show you. There's nothing going to be in the plan, so I guess I can't really do it right now. But at least I'll show you that it creates the file. So if I just do an ls right here, so there's right here only ls or S3, and if I wanted to only deploy that or like Terraform apply that, I would just do the Terraform apply and then that file name, and then it would deploy only in that Terraform plan. So that's pretty cool if you wanted to only do like a singular plan and not like have everything underneath the sun within your configuration file applied. Does anyone have any questions on that? Great. Let's move on. Commands. So this one's pretty cool. Terraform validate. Pretty much just validates all your configuration files and make sure everything's okay. So let's just run that and see what that looks like. Pretty much just gives you the green light or the no. You can still do this. I don't know. You'll be able to see this in like a Terraform plan as well. If everything looks good in your plan, chances are your Terraform validate would also give you a success. But anyway, so this is what it looks like. But what happens if it doesn't look right? So let's just go ahead and change something in our main TF. And I don't know. Let's just delete this R, right? Like that's invalid Terraform. Oops. 1 second. Let me hide that. Sorry. Do that. Oh, it's like exiting my Zoom thing. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, cool. So I've saved it. I've just deleted the R, and so we know that's not valid. It has to say resource. And so now if we run a Terraform validate, it'll probably give us an error. Exactly. Cool. So that's just a really quick way to just check your configuration files and make sure everything works fine. Cool. So that's Terraform validate. It's pretty handy. It's just nice to know that it exists. These are just breaking down, I don't know, some more errors that you can do to check Terraform validate. We kind of just did that, but with our own. There's also Terraform format, which is really cool. It'll format the Terraform code. So let's actually just go ahead and just go fix our Terraform code real quick again. So anyways, this isn't the perfect formatting, which is kind of what we want. So if we just run a Terraform format, it formats, oops. Yeah. So if we just do a cat on the main file, it formats it all. It's already formatted correctly, but that's what it'll do. So it'll add any kind of spaces or I believe just like correct indentation within your configuration file, just to keep it kind of neat and tidy. there are different ways to have like your own custom formatting. So say if you want, I don't know, like double spacing instead of single spacing, there are ways to do that, but we won't get into it. But just know that that is kind of something that you can do. So anyways, Terraform console is pretty cool. So just like how you were running like a bash console, like you just run like a bash and you would get like a bash terminal, you can do the same thing with Terraform console. So the way you would do that is Terraform console, or you could do that with like a SQL. And so yeah, so it opens up its own little Terraform console and you can do other stuff in it. Like I don't know, let's just do this min command real quick and it'll output one. So it's just kind of like working in a separate terminal, but in the same. And to exit out, you just simply do exit. So
How do you do multiple lines in the console?
multiple lines. You
Yeah.
do this, yeah, you do like a backslash, and then you'll be able to. So you can do like a backslash, and then yeah, you have to be in it, but yeah, that's how you do it. Or you can just do and. You can do like an ampersand, like double and then run the whole command again, and it'll output it twice or output both.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, that's Terraform console. Actually, let's just go ahead and read this in case I missed anything. So this command provides an interactive command line console for evaluating and experimenting with expressions. This helps you to test interpolations before using them in configuration and to interact with any values currently saved in the state. If there is current state or empty or has not been created, you can also use the console to experiment the expression syntax and built-in functions. This console holds a lock on the state, so you'll not be able to use the console performing other actions to modify state. This is useful for testing interpolations before using them in configurations and for interacting with any values currently saved in the state. So pretty much you can't use the Terraform console to actively do like a Terraform reply to update or to do anything with your resources. To be honest, I don't typically ever use Terraform console. I've never found um, a point where I've had to use Terraform console. But the big ones to take away from today's lesson are well, there's Terraform format, there's Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply. I don't think it's gone over Terraform destroy, but that is something I need to cover. Yeah, so I don't think it's actually in this lesson for Terraform apply or destroy, but it's something that we need to talk about. So what happens if you want to just say delete everything in your configuration file? Delete everything from the cloud. So there's a command for that. Terraform destroy. So this is a very destructive command, and there's really no way to recover from it. As soon as you hit Terraform destroy, let's just do it. It'll destroy all and like tear down all of the resources in your configuration file. I don't even think it asks you. Well, I think it might ask you for approval. Yeah, here it is. But anyways, it'll just like it'll still run like the Terraform plan. It'll show you everything that's changing. So as you can see, it's tearing down the AWS instance and should be the S3 bucket right here. And so you can't really go back from it. So if you add stuff in there, oh well, it's destroyed. But if you just wanted to just say destroy like I don't know the AWS instance, but leave the S3 bucket, you just go into your configuration file and either comment out or just remove the instance in your Terraform file, like in this case, the main.tf, and then you just run a Terraform apply. So that's how you would update any of your Terraform state. But the destroy will just absolutely clear everything out. So just something to know. And like Terraform fashion, it'll say destroy complete resources to destroyed. So that's something that was good to cover. Let's see what other Terraform commands. There's Terraform console and Terraform show. This one's cool. We don't actually have any state up right now. Terraform. Let's actually just do a Terraform. Oh, we'll see. Terraform show. Yeah, okay. Yeah, just as I expected. There's no actual state deployed right now, so we'd have to do a Terraform apply, and then I guess I could show off the auto approve flag, so I don't have to type in the yes. So let's just go ahead and do that, and it will reprovision the AWS instance as well as the S3 bucket. And so this will take, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds or so, and then we'll be able to do the Terraform show command, which will show you all the current state that is deployed. So I don't know, we'll be able to see the instance and the S3 bucket. Cool. So Terraform apply success 2 added. So let's do the Terraform show command, and it's pretty much just going to show you what the plan is. Right, you can see all the good stuff of all of your configuration deployed. So what it's doing is it's looking at the AWS account that you have linked up, through like your access key, and it is viewing all of the state that you have managed, which currently is only the AWS instance and the S3 bucket. So cool stuff. That's what Terraform show is. That could be pretty useful. This graph command, to be honest, I don't use it often at all. But it is kind of cool to know that it exists. It pretty much just shows you like the different levels that your Terraform configuration lives. So let's just go ahead and run that, and I'll show you Terraform graph. It's cool, but I don't know if it's that handy, right? Like you can see that your AWS instance here and your S3 bucket are just all on the same level. However, if you have like multiple levels, everything that we're creating is pretty much in the root of the account, and so you're really not going to see a difference. But I don't know, say if you did have like a multi-tier kind of account, then it would show that, but we don't, so it's kind of a useful or a useless command for us within our AWS account, that is. But I guess it's just, I don't know, just good to know that there is a command that if you are doing or working with like a multi-tier account, that you do have a graph command that will show you the different tiers. Anyways, so moving on to the refresh command. This command is used to update the status of the state file that is really present now in the infrastructure. This detects any drift in the state. Drift, does anyone know what that word means in terms of state? Anyone have a guess?
I mean, I know in like terms of like clocks, I don't know if it means the same kind of drift as like when you're locked into something on a clock and you're synchronized to it, and how far off, or how do you lock back in?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, so drift pretty much means there's a difference between what's actually happened and like the difference in the state versus like your active state in the console versus like your state via like your local configuration. Or let's say if you have like a dev environment and then you have a production environment, you may say there's a drift between them. Like they're two different complete states. And so you'd say there's a drift. It's just
So
a
is that
little.
is that like the database is being different, or maybe and I'm gonna throw out a couple ideas here just to see if I can understand. One would be databases being different. Maybe another one would be a version of a library.
Yeah, you can think about it that way. But it mostly just refers to different state. So state and drift get tossed around a lot in the industry. You'll
Mhm.
you'll hear the state quite often. That's very used. The drift you just think of like a difference, the difference in the state files or the state of like how things look.
Right. I know state. I mean, state from like the React point of view, and state from like state machines. I'm really trying to wrap my head around state for Terraform. Is it just the code that's currently being used?
Pretty
Like
much. So like you could say, so currently our Terraform state is we have one instance and we
hmm
will have an S3 bucket. Okay. Now let's say if I wanted to provision, I don't know, like a new VPC,
hmm
right? Like I would have two different states because I have not Terraform applied it, and so it is not live, right? Like I
Got
like
it.
the
Okay, cool.
state, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how you could think about it. That would be like a drift. Like if I had if I had my instance, my S3 bucket in like a production environment,
Mhm.
and then in my dev environment, I only had like a VPC. Like those would be two different states.
Right. So almost like Git, like after you added stuff but you haven't pushed it yet, could have been
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, the state is really just like what you have live at the time, or like what you don't have live. It's just like it just
got it. Okay.
notes what's going
Understood.
on.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Don't read too much into it. It's not too complicated of a topic. It's just pretty much saying what's there and what's not. That's the state. And if there's a drift, drift usually means like between like two different environments that the state's not, it's not
The
matching
dev and the
up.
live, that
Yeah,
made sense
there's
when
a
you
difference.
got
Yeah.
it.
Cool. So if you run this command, any kind of change present in the infra, it'll be updated to the state file. You can see the difference in the state file and the state backup file as well. Um, to simulate this, we can delete the S3 bucket in AWS, an example. And then you can choose yours. Now run the Terraform refresh command and see the difference. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go and change our S3 bucket. Oh, actually, let me just go and delete that. And we'll just escape colon and then WQ to save and quit out of our terminal. Cool. And then we can run the Terraform refresh. Cool. And so it just refreshes, and then we could also just run a Terraform. Actually, so does anyone have what are you guys guessing if I run a Terraform, Terraform plan? What's going to happen if I run that command? Any guesses?
So you're gonna just create a plan for what you just had up top.
Correct.
Either
Yeah. So
refresh doesn't make a change, right?
So the plan will change, right? Because we deleted the S3 bucket, so it'll show us deleting an S3 bucket, or at least should. So as you can see, one to change, oh, I'm sorry, one to destroy, and then that would be our S3 bucket. So that would be the difference in the state. Um, so yeah, so if we wanted to delete it, we would just do a Terraform apply, and then I don't know. I don't want to hit yes, so I'll just do the auto dash approve, and then that will it should delete our S3 bucket. Um, cool. And so apply complete resources. We didn't create anything. We didn't change anything. We just destroyed the S3 bucket. Cool. So that's pretty much the takeaway from the lesson. So the big things to really take away, like if you had to take anything away from this, just to know is the Terraform init is just pretty much a one and done, just sets everything up for you. Terraform plan, so you can check all your stuff to make sure what you're pushing is what you want. If you want to delete stuff, change stuff, create stuff, that's where your Terraform plan is. And then Terraform apply is making up any of your updates or just actually pushing it up to the cloud. So it's just really just these three commands are the biggest thing that you should really take away from today's lesson is what I would say. The most important. Does anyone have any questions over the lesson or any of the commands? Or Terraform in general? I know we're just kind of getting into Terraform. But I work with Terraform quite a bit in my full-time job. So if you guys do have I don't know, like a deeper question about any of this, I'm more than happy to dive into that with you.
Could you go over the benefits of doing this over the AWS GUI? Just
Yeah, so like manually provisioning, so you have way more control doing this programmatically. Let's say you have, I don't know, you have 150 instances to create. How long is that going to take you to do it manually? It would take you like all day versus programmatically. you could just have a for each command, which I think you learned about yesterday, and or like a count command even, and just put a number in there and create, X amount of instances. So one, it's a lot faster. Two, you have a lot more control over it. You could always check the state of it and state files, and so you're not manually like messing up and having any mishaps. Um, it's just programmatically is just the more professional way of going about it. It's more secure. It's just more secure. You're gonna make less errors potentially with it. It could potentially be faster at a larger scale. There's loads of benefits though to doing this programmatically versus doing it manually in the console. I guarantee every job that you have in like a production setting, I can't say every job, but if you're doing stuff for like an enterprise company, I would hands down almost guarantee that you're going to be using Terraform. If you're doing stuff with like cloud resources, that is provisioning or managing or doing any of that. So Terraform is a major player in the software realm when it comes to DevOps, when it comes to cloud infrastructure, when it comes to even software engineering as a whole. You're always going to need cloud, or chances are you're probably going to be using cloud infrastructure to support any kind of like full stack application or any larger applications or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, any other questions? Cool. Let me stop this.